No, I didn't just before, no. So I think we might be live, although I think I've muted you. No, I haven't. No, I haven't. You're just not in this scene. You're fine. You're not even in this scene. I'm just talking to the I think I'm live. Hey everyone, we're live. Good morning, good evening. Good evening, America. I think that's what it is. In America, it's 9 o'clock, isn't it? In Eastern? Anyway, welcome to Stateside Safari. This is my first episode. I'm really excited to finally have a guest with me. I was trying to take things on a little bit too fast, too much, and I didn't realize how complicated it was to get set up and actually sit in front of a camera and talk to yourself was very, very awkward and very difficult to pull off and make it interesting. So what I've been do- w- yeah, yeah, well, sorry guys. I'm just talking with my guest backstage. No, you're not they can't hear you right now. They can only hear me. You're not in the front. Yeah. I'll let you know. You're fine. I'm just sorry, guys. I'm talking to my guest backstage. He's waiting backstage patiently for me. Um, so I'm with Game Tech Politics. I'm just going to finally bring you in now so they can hear you because you're you are weren't audible before, but now you are audible. Do you want to introduce yourself?
All right, we're live now.
Yeah, we're
I
live.
thought you were live like this whole entire time, and then I
No,
was like,
I went live at 11 on the dot because I wasn't sure if I went a
okay,
little bit early if it would mix with the stream settings and stuff.
that's good, man, because I was sitting here making like fart noises and trying to make you laugh, and they didn't have to hear all of that, so that's awesome.
So, I mean, I've been giving you a little bit of stick lately on Twitter, and obviously there's all this hype with the UAP hearings and a lot of the stuff with um, David Grush and the whistleblower the whistleblower stuff and all of that. And I'm someone who's like a real enthusiast from a long time back, but I'm kind of really
You
jaded
you just want to
with things.
you just want to like open it right up, like get into the meat right now. Um,
Yeah, I'm
well, you know
sort of
what?
at yeah.
First, let me just say this. This is your first episode, right?
Mhm.
Like this is your first. See, this
This
is
is my first
wild.
live,
Like
yeah.
like I was sitting there thinking to myself like, wow, this is pretty cool. This first episode. Congrats. I was going to like make a whole post about like congratulations. This is awesome on your new venture. And then I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like people should be congratulating me because I'm the one that's like the very first guest on somebody that's going to be like ridiculously successful in this.
Oh, I
So
think that's very nice,
congratulations to
man.
me.
Well,
Well, I
I
have to go further. I have to tell your audience this because this is very important.
go ahead,
I've been
please.
doing this. I've been doing this for 3.5 years, Daniel, and I have literally uh, I have found the most talented people just by accident. And I found you by accident. Like I was looking through some Eliza Blue posts and I come across your post and I sit there and I took like 30 seconds to listen to you and I was just going to scroll on. But when I started listening to you, I couldn't stop after the first 30 seconds. I was like, man, this guy is like ridiculously concise. He's full of passion on what he's talking about. I said, this dude is going to go far in this world if he just makes the right career decisions. And that's what was in my brain when I first sit there and listen to you. And I had to message you. I had to message you and give you props and kudos because it was like a heartfelt message that was true. And
Wow, that's really kind of you, man. I appreciate that.
I'm not even done. That's the thing is I'm not even done with this. Be patient, guys. Be patient. Um, there there has been many people that I've met on Twitter And I had you follow a couple people on purpose. Remember that?
Yeah, I have, and I've done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you give those two individuals names out? And trust me, they'll be grateful for this, but it's important to the story. Give those tags out.
Okay, so we have at Travis underscore in underscore Flint, Flint, and we have at Jenna X Crypto.
Okay.
I've got that right, yeah?
The, yeah, and the oh, I am so sorry.
You're fine,
The
bud.
the reason why those accounts are important is because I actually interviewed them before they even blew up. Go look at
Right.
their accounts. Travis
Yeah, this
Travis
us
is. Go
he's
ahead.
got 250K, yeah, and or
Yeah.
something like that. And Jana, she's almost to 40K. So yeah, they're quite big accounts.
Well, look at the reason why I bring Jenna up is look at one of her posts that she had posted in the past. She basically today called it. It was spot on. This girl is an absolute genius. I'm telling you. I know she's pretty. She's got the looks. The whole nine
She is
yards.
pretty, isn't she? Yeah.
But but the thing of it is she's a good person though. And not only is she a good person, but she's like incredibly like she's a genius. And so uh with her and then Travis is like the witty friend of mine. I had him on my podcast over 3 years ago, before all this noise about him, before he became huge. And I believe he did two podcasts with me. And my whole point of it is that when I see talent, when I see people that I know are going to go far, I want to get on that shit quick. So when you sit there and said you're doing a podcast, or you're experimenting, or trying to get into it, I thought, well, that was brilliant because you have a knack for speaking. You can
Well,
paint a beautiful picture, man, and I kudos to you, man. Seriously.
thanks, man. I
So I'm
appreciate
I'm
that.
I'm excited for you.
That I appreciate that very much. Look, and I'm just seeing like I'm just looking at see I've wanted to do sort of a podcast for a little while. I've actually quite a while I wanted to get in and do it as a bit of a hobby. And I just didn't realize how sort of difficult it was to get off the ground. But it's now that I'm sort of got the stuff because at first it's the first hill you got to get past is investing in the equipment. So I was lucky enough to get a bit of a cash injection, windfall, and I was like, oh, I could just blow this all on crap, or I could buy this equipment and finally do what I wanted to do. Um, and I sort of have always had great conversations with people, but then I just wondered how easy would that be to translate into the YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, whatever it is. And then for the longest time, I didn't really just want to do it for the sake of doing it because I thought I didn't want to be just another one of them armchair pundits. But then when I got into the Twitter stuff, my tweets were becoming so long, especially when they brought in long form tweets. My tweets were just so long. I thought this has to be a video because no one's going to read half of these rants because I go on tangents and all of that. But I mean, yeah, I'm just having a look at Travis's Twitter page now. He's got he's got this banner image of are they Australian police? Yeah, Victoria Police. I can see it. Like
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
strangling that guy with the mask. So yeah, all right. I'm glad I found
Travis is brilliant, man. He Travis knows exactly how to get engagement, and he's been rightfully looked at as one of the best Twitter pages that Elon has. And he was even actually one of the first ones to be chosen to get that ad revenue just because of his posts. And just don't stop, man. Just continue doing it. It might take you, 6 months to a year to get some really good numbers, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. You got hell of a talent, man.
appreciate that, man, because right now you can tell I'm a little bit because I'm trying to juggle a lot of different things in the minute, just trying to get the setup sorted and make sure that you are visible and audible and all of that sort of stuff. And then, of course, you got to be eloquent enough to be listened, like interesting. And then you've got to actually keep your guest engaged. So there's quite a lot of things to juggle. And obviously dead silence is one of my biggest nightmares in like any conversation, like offline. But online, that's just it's cringeworthy. So I'm so glad to have someone with
So,
who's easy to free flow conversation with because it's when you're just talking to yourself like I tried before, it was just so hard. I mean, today I had like well for the last 2 days I was sitting up online just sort of trying to scour through things for me to structure this episode today with specifically. But
well, I wanted to ask you a question, if
go
that's all
ahead.
right. I wanted to get your backstory on your connection with Eliza Blue. She was such like a talked about character on X, or formerly known as Twitter. I mean, she had Elon Musk even pop up in a room. Um, she was, she's uh, basically said she's a human trafficking victim. There's a lot of controversial stuff in her past. Everyone has a past, but um, a lot of people saying that her story isn't checking out. And you had obviously you caught my attention when you had your post. So, like, what happened?
Well, first of all, I apologize. One sec. It's saying that we're not live on YouTube. I will answer. I'm not deflecting. I promise you. I am. It's saying we're not live on YouTube. It doesn't matter anyway because this is going. It's all recorded, so this is going on YouTube one way or another. I think we're live on the other platforms, but I just want to make sure that I don't know why it's doing that. It's just, of course, it would do that because it's my first live ever. Oh, it says go live. There's another button there. There's another but. Sorry, YouTube. Excuse me, YouTube. Half of this episode was already missing. Half the beginning of this episode was already missing for YouTube only because I forgot to hit that extra button. See, this is my first time. So, did you want to ask that question again for the sake of YouTube? I apologize for that. We were talking about how Game and I became introduced and or how we discovered each other, and it was sort of through the Eliza Blue link. Um, and you were wondering how I became sort of interacted with her and how that connection came about, right? Are you still with me? Hel- I don't know if you're still with me. Hello? Are you there? I think we've lost game. I think we're gonna just start again because the whole thing shut itself and the the connection died. I couldn't hear my guest. He disappeared and it was all a bit of a mix up. Sorry, technical glitch. This is my first time and my first day at the job, so I'm sure you guys will give me some sort of slack. I'm gonna edit all of that out in post. But where were we, game?
We were at Eliza Blue, and then
Yeah.
I started talking to myself the for like 15 minutes or so, and now
Yeah,
we're back
I
up.
don't know why all of a sudden I couldn't hear you. It just the mute button on your thing was just yeah,
That
it was
Daniel, it's all right. I had a fabulous conversation with myself, brother. It's freaking
excellent.
awesome.
I'm glad you enjoyed. I'm so sorry about that. So we came my Eliza Blue. She I first discovered her when she was doing the round on
All
the
right,
boat.
let's just be real. You know what, buddy? We can talk as friends. People are real in the world. Is she hot? Like, is she really that good looking, or do
Uh
you not want to go there? you don't want to
I
go
mean,
there,
I
do you?
didn't look at it that way. I sort of, I didn't s she's well, have you seen her before all the work done on the nose?
I think, I mean, you know, like the
Had
short
her
hair and
lips and
everything,
nose
that
fixed.
doesn't really bother me. She's good looking, man, but man, she's just got a wild story, brother. She's got a wild
Well,
story.
she's got a few wild stories, and they're all incongruent with each other. That's the problem that I have with it, you know? But, I didn't see any of that until later on, and there was a couple of people that were questioning me about her for a few months before the thing blew up. And they're sort of saying,
I
"Well."
think
Go ahead.
I think it's just because I think the biggest reason why it blew up the way that it did, it wasn't just her story. It was the combination of her doing the modeling. I mean, she's a good looking woman. You know, if you are into that, I'm not. I don't really. I don't do short hair, but
Yeah, she was, I
I'm
was
gonna get a
never.
lot of shit for that. But who cares? Everybody's got a type.
I mean, of
Um,
course they do, but I mean,
she was
I
on
was.
that blind date too. Did you know that she was on that blind date?
Well, not until all of the expose from Defango came out, and then all of a sudden, it's sort of like you can see these. She's tried every single avenue to get on the television, to be famous, to be in front of everyone's eyes. So that's her thing. So, um, I don't know. I feel quite bad for people like that because it just must consume so much of your energy just to want to always be that person that everyone has the attention for. It's just, I don't know. It's just, you see it everywhere too, though, because of course you do, because attention seekers suck up all the attention. Um, but she was sort of, she didn't at first come across that way to me when I first saw her. She was doing her round on the Blaze circuit, which I think it was on Elijah Schaefer's show, You Are Here, when that was still running, and Slightly Offensive, and there was a few other things. And she just kept popping up, and I liked that she was different. See, I've got a soft spot for people who are a bit different and a bit of an underdog, and I have, like, stuff in my past which I don't want to go into details with, but that it seems just sort of tangentially relevant to the things that she was talking about and advocating for, and so I would sort of like began slowly but surely, like, I followed her on Twitter, and then I started supporting her on locals, and I was supporting her, messages by retweeting her all the time, and then started chatting with her quite a bit because we would talk with each other on Twitter, and she followed me back because we were in a Twitter space one day, and then we had a few private conversations here and there, and then she would do her locals live streams, and so we would be able to do the. It was just basically myself, her, and Amanda there on her locals live streams. So we'd have conversations there about stuff. Um, like, I don't know, man. I don't know what the thing about Eliza was with me, other than that there was sort of something about her fifth identity and the story that came along with it. Um, I believed it, and there was sort of parts of it that I resonated with, but then it was just sort of became crushing because I was so vocally supportive of her for all those times when even my own buddies were like, this chick's full of shit. She's talking like she supports the porn industry, but she, is anti human trafficking. So like that's sort of really incongruent there. And I don't know, man. Like I'd shared her a
Well, I
few.
mean, there's people out there that probably have the same opinion. But the thing with her is like with me, I never heard her story. Like she's never come out and actually told her full story.
Well, it
She's
was
only
always
like give bits and pieces, and
Well, it was always a
she's
case of
never.
she'd say, "Oh, my story's out there. If you really want to know, it's out there." Um, she would always say that, and then she would say that in such a way that would sort of um, make you feel like an asshole if you actually dared to try and do that. She'd be like, look, I'm not here to put my most horrible. What would she say? She'd say, I don't want to put my most horrible experiences out here for everyone to see, and stuff like that. If you really
But
want
you
to know
know
the
what
details of
though?
my story, you can find it. And then it's like, well, then what did you put? How are you going to serve your purpose then if we don't even know what your story is?
Exactly. And not only that, but she's standing up next to other women who tell their stories.
Well, not only that,
That's what she's
she's all
advocating for.
yeah, she's advocating for the potentially real survivors or victims, however you want to phrase it. And the amount of injury she's caused to that whole movement, the believing victims thing. And I'm of course not one of these people who subscribe to believe all women. I don't it's just not me. But it's you'd like to at least give people the benefit of the doubt. You don't want to just turn it you don't want to have to be like so scrutinizing to everyone that is someone in her position like if she was telling the truth, let's say she was telling the truth, you in a perfect world, what am I trying to say here, man? I'm trying to say you don't want like from now on, while I can't believe anyone who comes forward and says, "Oh well, um, I was a victim of human trafficking." Then I'm almost never going to believe anyone who says that again, and that's the injury that's done. You know what I mean? That's a massive amount of damage that she's done there. And she's still doing it now. She's still trying to do it. And she's managed to successfully filter out anyone who's given her a hard time about it. So as long as she doesn't have to see it, it's not a problem for her. But yeah, anyway,
Well, I had I'm gonna send you some receipts. You can verify them. I don't want to post them. I don't want people to see them. If people ask, you can just say, hey, you know, I've seen them. But
sure.
the thing of it is that I've had conversations with her years ago as well. Like it's wild, man. Twitter is such a wild place because you have conversations, and this is when she only had like maybe 1,000 or 2,000 followers.
Was it
And
when
what
she was
was really,
when she was Eliza Blue, right? See, like it so I kind of tracked it
yeah,
back to when
yeah,
I was started talking with her, she hadn't actually been around under that alias for much longer than that. Excuse me. So when it
yeah.
was like,
She's had multiple
yeah,
aliases.
yeah.
Um,
So like it sounds like we kind of came into contact with her as long as she existed as as her.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. I mean, like at the very beginning of her account,
Yeah.
and you know what's really fascinating is there was she was she was trying to get into media circles. And you know I can show you what I'm talking about later, but she was trying to get into media circles, and I obviously I got some contacts within those circles, and I was discussing something amongst a few journalists, and somehow she chimes in, man, and I'll show you later. She chimes in and she basically tells me that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and that um, I don't know how the world really works, or something like that. I don't know how the world works. And what was really crazy is that I believe it was either this Michelle girl. I think it was the Michelle Hannigan, somebody that she got um, suspended, somebody that she got canceled. Uh, Anyways, on one of these podcasts, she says the same exact words, the same exact phrasing, and I got to look at the date of the podcast because I want to match it up with the date of what she, you know, of when I had a conversation with her,
Yeah. Sorry, you breaking up slightly. What
because a
was it?
script.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I think yeah, the audio breaks up a slight. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Uh, Okay. I think there might be a bit of an audio issue. Um,
No, I'm still good, man.
are you sure? Oh, okay. Because I couldn't. I'm not hearing half of the stuff. Because I can. You're sort of cutting in and out.
Well, I keep muting my mic. I'm so sorry.
Okay, okay. That's all right. No worries. So what we I'm sorry that distracted me again. What we you were so you were talking about so she was because yeah.
Yeah,
I really
when Daniel has a shiny object in front of him, he gets distracted way too easily, guys. Um,
sorry. Yeah, I am a bit yeah. I'm weird like that.
but yeah, like it was just a strange conversation, and when I heard her years later on a podcast, it was like she basically said the same exact thing, the same phrasing and all on this podcast, man, and it was just an odd interaction, very odd, and that's kind of like that's the only episode I've ever had with her. I've never had a conversation with her
I
outside of that, or you know, but
well, I had a
just
couple
odd.
of I had a few conversations with her, but I mean, and I shared a couple of things with her, but then with the expectation that she'd come back with something a bit more supportive than just like, I will go and see a support group in your area or and stuff like that. But I don't want to get into. I don't really to be honest, I really don't want to talk about her because
Let's,
like
you
the
know
whole
what? Let's get into some UFOs. Like
yeah
you
yeah
have been on my ass about this. You have, in private, you told me that I was like some crazy lunatic with tinfoil wrapped around my head
these are
about these UFOs. Why do you antagonize me every single day about them, Daniel?
well, you see, because I mean, it's just. And I apologize, and of course, I wouldn't come into your DMs and abuse you like that. But I have been rinsing you a little bit on Twitter lately. Let's be real, because I was looking at this stuff last night, like just trying to prepare for an episode with you, right? And I'm thinking, I've got to find footage which I've been because all of the footage, not all of it, but a lot of the stuff that they've been showing lately, like people are supposedly leaking out stuff, it's shit that I've seen a decade ago, and like, um, I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated with all
Me
this.
too, man. Me too. It's so funny. Like people are like, breaking news.
Yeah, but
Here's an alien footage. I'm like, dude, I seen that like 12 years ago.
I saw it in 1996. Fuck off! Like, what were you talking about? Like, and there's a few individuals that and that I
Come
just
on,
don't
man. We got to give them props for the engagement. We got to give them props. Everybody give them props.
like who like because I'm thinking of people like Corbell, Jeremy Corbell, and Stephen Greer. Those two in particular, they're going to be people that a majority of the public are going to go to first, and that's going to be their first taste of disclosure, right? And while they might be getting some things correct, their ego just bleeds so far into what they're doing and saying. Like Greer charges like 5 grand a piece to go out and be touched by aliens in the desert, and it's just like not a single person's had an experience yet, or if they have, there's zero
But you,
evidence of it. So
let me let me say this, Daniel. Here's the thing about these fake videos and fake posts, and
and fake people.
people eat this up. He, I was sitting there thinking, like, man, it's always a negative to sit there and muddy the water about this information that we get and consume daily. There's always like bullshit stuff that gets in the way of the truth. And but here's the thing: when we finally get those leaks and we finally have somebody like James Fox posting a video or posting a photo or saying, here I had a conversation with X, Y, and Z, and here's the video of that conversation. When we get people like that doing that work and they post something, we know that that is real.
Do we though?
That's the positive part about all that fake shit, is that we know who to go to see real shit.
Well, we know who to go to to who asks honest questions and has a real genuine pursuit. But those people don't have access to the real knowledge. They've just got the right intentions
But they do.
and an admirable approach to the top. Like when you send me stuff like, and I really like
Hold
he's one
on
of my
though.
best.
Hold on. You said that they don't have access to the actual knowledge, but they do. And
How do
and
I
the
know
way
that?
that they do is that they talk to people that have it.
But that's where the that's but you see what happens is that's where it falls off. That's where things fall off, not just for me, but for most people. Like, okay, so you and I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about people like generally that make these claims. They say they have the knowledge, they've spoken to sources, and they can verify it, and that's where it ends. They don't pass on
Okay,
that verification to us.
let
So it
me
remains
let
just
me
a
throw you
story
something
from a
though, Daniel.
story. You know what I mean?
Let me throw something at you though. You said that a journalist took and asked questions, he got the sources, and he got the information, right? And then he tells the story, but we're left with questions, right? Here's the thing though. I told a story on May 19th. May 19th, I told a story, and I told everybody that there was going to be a whistleblower, a UFO whistleblower that has went to Congress. They've talked about UFO retrieval program of extraterrestrials and UFOs. I talked about the actual meeting amongst Congress members and these whistleblowers and their aides. And everything that I talked about, everything that I reported was 100% accurate. And I'm talking, it was one of the best stories I've ever done. And then I had James Fox, the man himself, in a space the the day before the actual News Nation story took off. Before every, the I I I didn't write the
You mean the
story. I didn't
Grush
get the
and
interview,
Coulthard
but I
one?
got, say again.
You mean the Grush and Ross Coulthard's original one on News Nation? You're talking
Yes,
about
yeah,
the
the
day
day
before that,
prior,
yeah.
right, the day prior to the original breakout of the story. I had James Fox on in a space because I knew the date, I knew, the time and everything. So my whole point is, it's not a pat on the back for me. It's just to show you that journalists, when they get stories, no matter how outlandish it is, because everybody thought I was cuckoo. Everybody thought I was full of. Let's just be honest. Everybody thought I was full of. Am I allowed cussing? I don't know if I'm allowed cussing on
Yeah, of
YouTube or
course,
not.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So everybody thought I was full of shit, man. And then once once the story broke, I had DMs like up the walls. They're like, "Holy shit, man! What the fuck? Like where did you get this information?" But my point
Well, that's
is, man,
excellent.
is
But
that
do you know what? Like, and I'll admit, and I while I do believe you, and could easily go back and verify that, I don't need to because I do actually genuinely believe that's what happened. It was only since then that I'd sent because I forgot so many different people on notification, and I just sort of like don't see everything that's on Twitter. We've been connected for a little while, but um, I wasn't privy to that specific story that you broke back then. That was then later corroborated. But what you've just described to me is so exceedingly rare that it's just like I never see that happen. And I'm not saying it was a coincidence, and I'm not saying that what happened there is a coincidence. I believe you had reliable intel that was shortly thereafter able to be corroborated or verified. But most of the time, it's not the case. They're not offering up anything that can be imminently verified, anything that can be cross checked, anything that can be demonstrated before us. It's always just look, and I'll use Colt Hart as an example. I really like him, and I think he's a great journalist. He's one of the best we've ever had here in Australia. Um, and he's independent for a reason because he sort of like sticks away from the garbage networks here. But he claims that he knows where some of these buildings are. That they because obviously he was on the Project Unity podcast, and he was they were talking about Kirsten Gillibrand, and the she was talking about how they what was there something about she gave them she was going to give them 6 months to sort of reveal their findings, or they're going to have their funding cut off. Is something like that coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah,
How'd
yeah,
that
and
work out?
then so the response to that on I think it was Jay, his name is from Project Unity. He's like, doesn't that just give them 6 months to hide their shit? And then Ross Coulthart comes back and he's saying, yeah, but what if some of that shit's so big it can't be moved? And he believes that there's stuff outside the US with buildings over it because it's so big it can't be moved. And he claims to know where those things are. Now, my frustration comes into like, why are you stopping there? What that's like, if you're not going to tell us where that is, you're not going to tell us who told you that. It's almost not worth saying at all. It's almost just adding more mud, unless unless that's going to be immediately verifiable. Which when I say immediately, it needs to be within a couple of months of being said. Otherwise, it's just like, okay, you were accidentally correct at that point. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many endless amounts of claims out there that go, well, yeah, yeah, but like I've got these sources and I believe them and they've never been wrong, but I can't share them. And that's fair. Like I don't discount the real dangers of um, giving out names and doxing information like that. But if you're gonna come out with extraordinary claims, you need to be. I believe we're at a point now where there's so much bullshit information. There's such a highway of bullshit disinformation that we cannot afford anyone coming forward with with sensational claims that don't already come coupled with the sensational proof. Do you know what I mean? Don't
I,
say
I,
that
I know,
there's.
I know, like, you see, that's why I wanted to listen and just, you're absent. You make sense, man. But the thing of it is that you got to take that pessimism off a little bit and just think to yourself, somebody's going to come along and I'm going to finally hear the truth from some individual.
Yeah, but I
I mean,
thought,
everybody can't be full of shit anymore, man. There's truth out there now. We don't
is there
have,
though?
we're not as restricted today as we were, 20, 30 years ago. We have a freedom of access of information now.
Yeah, that doesn't mean the information is any good or valid or
And
tethered
and
in any
and you're
or
right.
tethered to
I would
reality.
say, yeah, I would say 90% of it's bullshit.
Yeah, so like that
It may be
access, that
95.
ubiquitous access to information is just it's not necessarily as valuable as it sounds on its face because all of that, a lot of that information, or most of that information, a grand majority of that information is if bullshit at best. You know what I mean?
And
Um,
the majority of it, I would say 9 out of 10 of that bullshit information is coming from our governments.
Yeah, so that's why I says it's bullshit. Like, or like it's a mistake at best, I should say, and it's like absolute fatuous lies at worst. But like, well,
Well, look, I know that a lot of your audience is probably going to listen because of the topic of UFOs, because the UFO community is pretty, they're headstrong. They don't budge. And so I'm gonna just ask you. I know that you're hesitant to believe this UFO retrieval program, and that's fine. That's understandable.
I think I want to
Um,
clarify it a little bit. I'm on the fence as to whether or not that it's real. The
and
frustration
that's
I have
okay.
the frustration I
Let's
have
look
is
at.
whether or not it's going to actually be disclosed, and we're going to have this disclosure everyone's talking about. And I
Okay,
believe that is actually a giant red herring. I do believe both things. I believe a lot of I believe there's kernels of truth amid everything that's being said right now, but I believe it's being wheeled out right now, specifically right now, for a purpose that has nothing to do with this. And I don't, like I think a lot of it's been embellished. I think, um, I think there's a lot of things that they don't know and have inferred. Like
have you ever heard of a guy by the name of Gordon Cooper?
it sounds vaguely familiar.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because I got a point. If What would it take? What person would it take if someone, it doesn't matter who in the entire world, if a person came up to you and said, Daniel, UFOs are real, um, what who would that be? Who would that person get you, like, convince you that UFOs are real?
Well, I don't need convincing that they're real. I think the possibility that they're real is almost is certainty, but whether they've visited Earth is the question to me. Is
Okay,
that what you
okay,
mean?
but okay, then we'll go that direction. If a person came up to you and said they visited, or there's alien beings out there somewhere, and I have proof of that, and I've seen the proof,
Like
who
on
would that
Earth in
person be
connection
to
to
get
Earth
you to
humans,
believe?
yeah. If no, I mean, what would it take for me to believe that?
No, Daniel, who? Give me a name.
There's
Give me a
no one. There's
person.
not a
Give me
single like.
somebody.
I don't think it's a person. I don't believe it's in any individual. I mean, I could name a bunch of individuals that I trust and like, you could say James Fox or yourself could come out today with some photos. But
But who? There's always a person in your life that if they come up to you and said something happened, and there's always that one person that you have in your life that would. My point is, Daniel. Never mind. My point is Gordon Cooper. Gordon Cooper was among the first class of astronauts. Um, he's the one who basically orbited Earth. I think he was the first man to orbit Earth, and he was a part of the Gemini program.
yeah, I think that's where I might have heard the name from.
Okay. Well, they don't put crazy people in billion-dollar machines. They just don't do that. Um,
Yeah, they
they
do.
have certain tests.
100% they do.
No, they don't. They have
Crazy people
their
feel
tests.
yeah.
If you look at the tests that the Department of Defense did amongst those first class astronauts, it was pretty strenuous. Strenuous. I mean, they checked even the levels of like your kidneys, your liver. Your They went through your psychological uh, problems or lack thereof. I mean, they were very freaking thorough. And even Jim Lovitz, the guy that flew Apollo 13 and Apollo 8, he didn't even make it in his amongst the first class. He's actually the second class. He failed one of his tests. So my point is Gordon Cooper. He 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 served our country for a long time. he's among the first class of astronauts. He's an American hero, a symbol of Americana. Uh, and he said that he's filmed a UFO landing, two alien beings coming out, and he actually filmed it. And this
Where's the
was
film?
when he was, well, the DC, Washington has it. He sent the
Okay, so
film to
it doesn't
Washington
exist.
DC.
If I
Had a
can't see the film, it doesn't exist.
say
To
again,
me, it doesn't exist and it never happened. Unless I can see it, it didn't happen.
right?
It didn't. You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
I
that's
find Sergeant Carl
you,
Wolf more believable than that
but
because at
the
least he's
logic in that
provided photos.
thinking, though, Daniel, the logic in that thinking, if it doesn't exist, it didn't happen. The logic of that thinking is very flawed. I mean, you can't,
Well,
you
not
know,
anymore. No, these days it's not a consistent standard that I hold to everyone about everything. But when it comes to sort of certain claims that are sensational, then yeah, I can invoke that standard. I think it didn't happen unless I need hard proof I can touch. When I say touch, I mean like I need to be able to see like high res satellite images or video footage that is like definitely not obvious CGI. You know, I need to see some. I need to see some. It's hard to trust what governments actually
have you
do.
ever watched? Have you ever watched a James Fox movie before?
Yeah, a couple. Yeah,
Well,
and
I
I
know what
find
I
those.
saw.
Huh?
The movie I Know What I Saw, and that has some really excellent footage of UFOs in it.
Mm, I don't agree. I don't agree that
I
it's
mean,
excellent
even
footage.
the Phoenix Lights doesn't even convince you a little bit. The Phoenix Lights story
Um, not that it's aliens. No.
that UFO was basically almost covered the entire city. It was
Well,
like the size of an
yeah. I mean, if you,
aircraft carrier. And we have the governor Fife Symington of Arizona, come out and admit it himself that he actually even seen it.
mm,
Over 10,000 people saw this thing.
yeah,
10,000.
but I mean, not, that's fine, and we can 10,000 people can see fireworks or, half like 10 million people can see the moon. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just because it's like I was talking where, let me bring up something. I think that if I put it in my bookmarks, there's this guy. Where is it? Yeah, I want to show you something real quick. This one. Now can you see this screen where my mouse is hovering?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go plus 1%. This guy here says something. Ryan Graves was one of the guys, one of the witnesses at the UFO hearings, right?
I think I just lost the screen.
Oh, you can't see the screen? Oh no.
There we
Uh,
go. I see it now.
oh, you do see it. Okay, cool. So it doesn't really matter. Can you hear it though?
No, I was actually reading along, but no, I can't hear it.
Oh, that's a shame. You can't hear it, but you can see the text.
Yeah, I can see the text.
Okay.
Our trickery will work on the enemy. Uh, and those are directed energy weapons of where we do intersecting beams or focus beams into the atmosphere. And notice they're always in the atmosphere to excite the electron orbitals of the oxygen and nitrogen uh, in our atmosphere. And it causes a glow and it causes ionization. That ionization shows up on radar and it's like a cat laser pointer, and we're making planes chase them.
That's exactly how they describe these things moving, like laser pointers.
Yeah, and so we can do it in 3 space. We can make it look like
in 3-dimensional space.
Yeah, and we can make it look like an entire fleet is about to drop bombs on, let's say, Europe, and then just have them disappear. And they get all their planes up in the air, and we attack them from the other direction.
So I don't know. It's a shame that you couldn't hear that because, like, it's really interesting to hear him actually say it as
No, I
opposed.
read it. It's basically a military defense tactic.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, they can essentially have these things show up on radar, have things actually appear in the sky. That's just all essentially holographic, isn't this Project Bluebeam sort of shit?
See, I think that it's easier to believe that there's aliens flying around in little spacecrafts than, than that
No, I
guy.
mean,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I don't. I don't. I do. I certainly don't believe that. I think okay. I don't. Could you expand on that logic a little bit? Like the
I
why
was
wouldn't?
only kidding. I think that
Oh,
that's logical as well.
oh, okay.
I don't have any problems with that.
Okay. So,
I don't think that Project Bluebeam or anything like that is a part of this story though with the UFO whistleblowers. I just think that a lot of people are so distrustworthy of the government and the news in general that they have a hard time accepting um, employees from the government coming out and saying, "Hey, we retrieved these things and we got alien bodies." It's a sensational and bombastic story, but
yeah.
you're just gonna have to be patient, man, and
No,
entertain
that's
the
what I mean.
idea.
Like, I don't have to be patient though. I can say it's bullshit until it's irrefutable because that's essentially how like I don't know. Like, cause for me to be able to change my way of thinking and life and stuff around this, which would happen if it is to be true. I would need that verification. So I really don't need to have the patience and go like, um, well, in my lifetime it will become finally known. So I'm just going to keep strong with my convictions on this and keep saying that it's real. I don't have any evidence that it's real. I want it to be real. I would like it to be real because it seems sensational. I think a lot of this is maybe, I think maybe this is part of why I used to escape my real world stuff and dive into UFO stuff because it was off Earth. It was nothing to do with humanity. And it was an escape for me. It was my fun time, my happy place. You know what I mean? Um, and if this was to become a reality and the governments got involved and or if it became well known that the governments were involved the whole time, it sort of it takes the mysteriousness away from it. It makes it obviously it opens up a whole lot of new things that I couldn't even know where to begin. But how do I articulate this? I just sort of feel like it's taking my happy personal place away. It's just and it's been muddied up with bullshit. And there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, have you seen this thing? Have you seen that? You've seen this and you've seen that." And it's like, yeah, in 1995. Like, I don't know where I'm going with this, man. Like,
But like last night, I was looking at a lot of this stuff, and I started getting a little bit excited with it again, like sort of seeing the things by this guy called Carl. Have you heard of a guy called Carl Wolf, Sergeant Carl Wolf?
Kyle Orff?
Carl Wolf. Um,
Kyle Wolf.
no, Carl.
No, I don't.
Carl.
Carl Wolf.
Hey,
Oh, yeah. I know that account, yeah.
and I think he's a guy. No, he's a he's a guy who's actually died now. He's apparently he was a U.S. Air Force like officer.
Oh,
Um,
you're not talking about Sierra Wolf on Twitter?
no, I'm
Two
talking
questions.
about.
Did NASA put men on the moon?
The problem is you can't hear anything that I'm playing here, can you?
That's all right, man. That's all right. This is for the audience.
Yeah, but that's a bit sad.
Probably. Is NASA covering something up on the moon?
Well, what about his story?
I can't really. I was hoping to rely on this video to tell you about it. So there's this guy named Sergeant Carl Wolf.
Well, heat wasn't an issue. Not for the astronauts and not for the camera film. Now, there are many more examples, but I think you get the idea.
My name is Carl Wolf, and I was a precision electronics photographic repairman with a top secret crypto clearance. In mid-1965, I was loaned to the Lunar Orbiter project at NASA on Langley Field.
So see this? You can see this, right? Game?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So these are kind of things like this guy here is you can't it's unfortunate. He says, my name is Sergeant Carl Wolf. I was from United States Air Force, had a
Clearance.
security clear some sort of security clearance. He's talking about
In mid-1965, I was loaned to the Lunar Orbiter project at NASA on
is there like close capture? Here we go. Yes, now there's you can see it. You can see what he's saying.
On the moon. Definitely.
My name is Carl Wolf, and I was a precision electronics photographic repairman with a top secret crypto clearance. In mid-1965, I was loaned to the Lunar Orbiter project at NASA on Langley Field. I was taken into the laboratory where the equipment was malfunctioning.
These are the kind of images that I want to see. These ones of like this is like I know this is old and this could easily be faked, but I want to see these kinds of images coming out now in high definition,
Now-
corroborated now.
Now, do you believe that we went on the moon?
Yeah, but I don't believe the footage is real. I do believe we went there, and I believe we discovered shit like this. And this guy here was going to testify for Congress about it. But he was killed in a car accident beforehand. But I want to see this sort of thing coming out now. I want to see this sort of equivalent sort of stuff coming out now, of a much higher definition than this. This is obviously from 1965. So
I was taken into the laboratory where the equipment
So,
was malfunctioning.
so what's his story? Give me the summary of his story.
can you not see the text?
Yeah, I can see it. I wanted you to kind of tell us.
Oh, Carl Wolf. This is what like basically. I don't know who the guy is. He was some sort of analyst for the United States Air Force. He just introduced himself before what was where is it? Sorry, there's just a lot of I hate dead air. Let me find you. you a thing on about Carl Wolf. Carl Wolf was in the Air Force for 4.5 years, beginning in January 1964. He had a secret crypto clearance, whatever that means.
Top secret security clearance.
Yeah. So yeah, but a crypto clear. Yeah, so obviously cryptology. So yeah. And that's basically who he was. I don't think there's going to be much to know about him because of that kind of position, but he was known because he came forward as whistleblower back then. And this is what I call a whistleblower because he didn't go through the ICIG and through all these proper other channels like Grush did. That's why I don't think Grush is a whistleblower because like there's nothing that he's saying that he's sort of departed rank to
So
do
so
so.
that guy, the guy that you just showed us, he got killed.
Yeah, he did.
Couldn't repair it in the dark. I asked to have it removed.
Because he was supposedly responsible for, I don't know if he was tasked with removing these pictures or destroying these pictures, or if he was just talking with someone who was. But he's talking about it now, and here they are, visible photos,
So
supposedly.
so you're telling me that a whistleblower got killed, but you don't think Grush is a whistleblower because he went through the protection. I, I got to
No, I
do a
don't.
little
Yeah,
pushback here. I got to do a little pushback just because that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with world governments killing these whistleblowers, killing these individuals that had a part in these secret projects.
we don't know that though.
And
We don't know that.
okay,
Carl
but
Wolf died before he could die. He died. It could have been, I believe, it was a car accident, but like we all know that could be obviously orchestrated. But like again, um, I just think, well, if unless you're going to come forward with the verification itself along with the claim, so that at that point it's going to be like, well, no one can deny it. Then
do you
don't
know
come
that
forward with
that
the claim.
some of these whistleblowers are so scared that they have an 8-point channel just to get the information across from one to the other to the other to the other?
Yeah, I don't know why they're bothering because at that point the veracity of that message is gone.
No, it's not gone, brother. It's not gone.
It
Trust
is
me.
for the
There's
people that it matters to. It
James
is for the
James
wider
Fox is
public.
going to come out with some interviews that are going to explode people's minds. And
Okay.
I do believe that the whistleblowers are going to be leaking here very soon. And I've been,
Do you know a
if
time frame on
let's
that?
say, let's look at logically. Take me out of the picture and replace it with Bob. If Bob told me a story that is pretty outlandish and he got everything right about that story, everything, and then Bob says, "Oh, and there's more. These whistleblowers are going to be leaking these photos here soon or videos." And Bob's been right about everything before. Wouldn't you put some credence into Bob about the photos and videos leaking out? If he's been right about everything perfectly,
Sure. Yeah, I would. I guess so. But I haven't found anyone like that yet.
you're talking to him, brother. You're talking to
Yeah,
him.
but I'm just embarking on this new journey with you. Like I said, I haven't, like, because I have not followed you throughout the whole UFO thing. Like I was following your account, of course, but I wasn't following all of your tweets and reporting on this specific thing because I sort of, the moment I heard it come up in the conversation in public, I just switched my head off because as soon as I was talking about this during the COVID lockdown stuff in Australia, and I was saying this in the office at my workplace. I was saying, if it's not once this is over, they're going to do a fake alien invasion next, and everyone looked at me and laughed, and I was like, no, I'm actually being serious. That's what they're going to try next. If it's not climate change, if it's not a climate change hoax, it's going to be an alien hoax or both. And they all laughed and laughed. And then within weeks of that. Like, I think it was like the following week, it was starting to, there was shit on the news about UFOs. That was right. That's when Tucker Carlson all of a sudden started reporting about UFOs and talking to people about UFOs. And then um, there was, obviously Corbell and David Fravor came up in the news. I think that was the stuff that came up then as well. So then they were still laughing at me, but now it sort of seems to be gearing up and people are changing gears and shifting further into the sort of like, oh wow, maybe it is real, but I don't know what they've seen that I haven't that's made them shift gears. What's the thing that's made people shift gears? There must be things that people have seen that I haven't seen, and I want to know why I haven't seen it.
I think it's more of the people in the background that are a part of this. And the reason why is because anyone within the United States knows the bureaucracy here is absolutely horrendous. Um,
Yeah.
and everything gets compartmentalized.
Oh,
And we finally have the thing of it is we finally have some people that have the the top I'm talking at the top echelon of our intelligence agencies. They have this clearances and the most knowledge about secret programs that we've never had a person of that value come out and talk about anything secretive before. We've never had that before. And so when people like journalists when you have people like Tucker Carlson, Matt Walsh, Schellenberger's been on top of this for a while,
he
since
blocked me.
January
I don't know
actually.
why he blocked me on Twitter.
I don't. Well, probably because you're so pessimistic, Daniel. Um,
So
but we have all of these journalists
can't he handle
excited.
that? Isn't he a journalist?
I
And I
know,
was
I know,
never
buddy.
attacking him.
I will tweet out. How dare you? I'll put the Greta what's her name, Greta Thunberg. I'll put like how
How
dare you
dare
next to
you?
her.
Yeah.
But the point is that all of these journalists like Schellenberger who blocked you, and you coward Schellenberger.
I don't
Um,
even care.
it, the thing is that you have really reputable journalists coming out and supporting this story by just even talking about it. Now, if it was a story that was kind of full of shit, I guarantee you a lot of these guys, the way they are, they would stay away from it. They would.
I didn't even
Um,
know Schellenberger was talking about it because I
oh
blocked
yeah,
him back.
heavily. Look,
I blocked him
you can
back.
look up articles. He actually interviewed James Fox back in January of this year, and did an article on James Fox in January.
Yeah,
But
right.
he's been on. Say again.
I don't know. I was just saying I didn't know that yet. I was just saying yeah,
Yeah.
right. So yeah. I mean I've seen
So
James
my
Fox before.
point is though is that these journalists they got excited because of the value of the witness, the value of who these people are. And that's why everybody's talking about it, Daniel. That's why everybody's excited about it. It's just because we've never had that before. We've never had someone with secret knowledge that not even our presidents have had.
Well,
So
no,
these
because they
guys are the
seem because
cream.
presidents are
These
temporary, aren't
guys are
they?
the cream of the crop, Daniel. The top
However,
echelon.
and that's where the suspicion for me comes in. It's like if they are, as you say, so okay, I accept that it's the caliber of the intel that's coming forward, the people with the intel that are coming forward. That is the shift in the gears. However, that then begs the question: why are the people of the shadows, the most important people of the government, coming forward now and speaking about this now and not before when everyone else was talking about it before? Um, that would lend
Well, these
itself
these
more towards
whistleblowers
psyop.
didn't. These whistleblowers didn't strategize on. Okay, let's work
Who are the
on it
whistleblowers?
and do what now?
Which whistleblowers are we talking? So as far as I know, It was so the witnesses that were showed up at the UAP hearings was what David Grush, David Traver, and Ryan Graves, right? Fravor, I think
There's more than that. There are more than that.
not at the hearing. There wasn't.
Not at the hearing, no, but there's more whistleblowers.
Where and what are they saying to who?
Well, they'll. I know that a couple of them will definitely be at the Senate intelligence hearing in
Will be or
September.
have been? They're
They
the
will
one
be.
come. Right,
They're
so they
coming.
don't
Right.
exist yet. So far we've only got one.
Yes, yes, they do, Daniel. Yes,
Not
they
to me,
do.
they don't, because I don't know. They haven't said any, there's nothing public about it, so nothing. The whistle hasn't been blown. Those people exist, but the whistle hasn't been
Well,
blown.
if you listen to what David Grush has said and what James Fox and
Well, Grush
Corbell
isn't a
and
whistleblower.
Knapp and even Burchett, if you listen to what these individuals have said about the additional whistleblowers, that they they're the ones who make them exist. So I don't know.
So apparently
I
it says
don't
so. These
know
people
what
have
to
said
tell you,
things
brother. I
to
mean,
congressmen. They've said if they've already if they've said stuff that makes them a whistleblower, I guess. But if it's been said to someone in a skiff, then it really doesn't affect anything. That's just like, oh, great, thanks for letting us know. Now we know where to sort of hide this next. Now we know how to cover that up. Do you see what I'm getting at? Like I'm sort of like all there for the discussion of that's like is real and it's probably happened, but like whether or not we're gonna start saying, okay, we're admitting it's real, and the government's gonna start saying, all right, yes, it's true that, and we're gonna actually because that's what we
Daniel,
really need is
you're
the
never going.
acknowledgement. The
You're
society
never
needs
look, man. You're never
society.
going to get the truth from the government. You're never
Well,
going to get
then we
that.
can't. Then there's no point to having this out in the open then, because it doesn't help anything. Because it's not going to further humanity in any way. Because if we can't get governments, literally the thing that controls the people on the planet,
If we force this out, if these whistleblowers
but people
force this out, and actually
apparently they can't. They get
leaks a
shot
lot
or
of the
killed.
information that they have, then of course this information is valuable because if they let's say that they release documents that explain certain scientific methods, they can hand that information over to the universities to see if they can mimic that information
So
or
yeah, that's exactly what I mean. It needs to be practically usable. We need to be able to map it into our own evolution and go right, and then that will give us some sort of will give us a better understanding on where we are existentially. It'll give us hopefully some like some advancements in our technological ability and intelligence and all that sort of stuff, so that we can use it to sort of align our society, our species, our race into a better direction. But until that happens as a social, cohesive, mainstream thing, it's not worth talking about.
well, I think that anytime that you're talking about other beings on this earth that aren't humans but they're more intelligent than us is something to be curious about. I know
Absolutely.
that you're a pessimistic guy and I understand that, but you got to understand
I
too
wasn't always.
that history was told amongst men, and that's how we got stories about our history. That's how we got stories about what really happened in the world because of people like Grush and people like these whistleblowers telling the stories that need to be told. And we can't sit there and dismiss them just yet because of the evidence that we already have in front of us.
But
With
hold on.
and
I want to
and
hold. I
here's
need to
the evidence.
push you on that one there. I do. I almost. I said it in these words the other day. The cost of being wrong about this, the cost of believing them and not paying attention to whatever else is going on, is quite high, as opposed to not trusting you, not believing you until you can bear the fruit of what you're claiming. Because until then, I'm looking elsewhere to see what you're covering up for. And that way, hopefully, we can get the best of both worlds. I can see what's going on right now that's not got anything to do with UFOs. And when these guys come to a point when they can actually provide the the irrefutable evidence to me, I can have that too. But like I'm saying right now, this is too distracting. Even if it's true, it's so empty as far as it's just all descriptions and cool stories so far. Even if they're true, there's no utility for the public to be paying attention to it right at this point until such a time as it can be proved because there's too much else going on. Because even if it's real, it's just too distracting because it's not verifiable until it is. You know what I mean? So I think they need, because does that make sense? Is that a better way of phrasing it?
I mean, I always know where you're coming from, and I don't, I'm never, I don't, I'm never misunderstanding where you're coming from. It's just that the logic, the logic and the way of thinking is kind of, it's dangerous to me, because if the world's about the end and people have the information to try to save it, and you're like saying, oh, it's hogwash, there's going to become a point of time
If
where you're going to have to pay attention instead of ignoring it, because if you ignore it, then then that could be a danger to yourself and people around you. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a very hairy situation amongst the world right now. We're about to, we're on we're literally on the line of World War III. There are multiple countries right now
and this is
taking and preparing for nuclear fallout. That you can look that up in real time. You can fact
and
check
this
me.
is sort of my point. I think we should almost be looking at that instead of the UFO thing because the UFO thing doesn't really help us in that right. I need to
What if that's
pause for
part
real.
of it? But what
So
if it's part of it, though? What if it's part of it? What if that has a lot to do with the actual story that's taking place today? There, I only have to ask people who uh, are kind of curious why today. Well, you got to look at the past.
sorry,
Why
can
did
I
the
just put a pin in that for a second? I'll be right back. I just really got to grab something in 1 sec.
Yeah,
I just
I
got
can
to.
continue on with the audience,
Okay, cool.
if you
I'll be
want me
back
to.
in 1 second. Sorry.
All right, no problem. So my whole point is that, you know with what we're going through today, there has to be a point in time where we have to come together as it's really hard talking by yourself. Um, the thing about this UFO story, though, is that our governments are doing something so sinister. They've been hiding this information for over 80 years. What else are they hiding? We have multiple wars going on. We have governments taking and preparing for nuclear fallout. We have over 3,000 US troops going into Europe. We have multiple Navy ships going into the Middle East with F-35s, F-16s. You have Israel taking and going through a protest there. There's over 10,000 troops that has refused to re-sign into the military. So their military is being depleted. We have a lot of things going on right now, and to no, you're fine. I was just telling the audience we have a lot of shit going on right now, and to ignore the UFO story because it sounds outlandish, it's really a travesty, because there's good people out there trying to get the truth out, and we ought to at least give them credence and give them time to get this information out. Um, I think it's imperative. I mean, look at what happened with Hawaii. You know, that's a really strange story, and the response of the response of the government is very alarming. So let's pretend, Daniel. Let's pretend for 1 second. Just put on
Could you?
your optimistic hat on. Let's pretend that this UFO story is completely true, and Daniel, you believe it.
Okay.
Do you have faith? Do you, after the episode of what happened with Hawaii, do you have faith that our government is prepared for something like this, or a big event, or a massive sighting? Do you think the world governments are prepared for that?
No, but I also don't think the world governments have their priorities set for the safety and well-being of their populace. I just don't think that's how it's designed, or and I just it's not geared for that. If they, I think we could be prepared if we were aiming for that state of preparedness, but we're not. I mean, it's the world revolves around making money, and hedonist experiences, and um, conquer and division.
You're not a religious person at all, are you?
And I don't subscribe to I don't subscribe to organized religion, but I'm not an atheist. I think atheism is a blindness that uh, it 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 gets in the way of a lot of intellectual thought, and it robs it. I'm a spiritual person. I believe there's more out there than me, and I believe there's more beyond this dimension. Um, I've had DMT
But how do you
experiences
know
and
that?
stuff like that.
How do you know that though?
Drugs.
Nice.
Mainly just DMT experiences and stuff like that. Be careful, kids. I don't know if you get pulled from YouTube, but don't do it. It's
You
bad.
know,
It's
I've
bad. Too
never,
bad.
as an adult, I can honestly say, as an adult, I've never done drugs.
I've done plenty of
Never.
drugs, but I mean
I don't even drink alcohol, man.
I don't drink
Like
alcohol anymore either.
I'm the guy. If you saw me in a bar, I'm the guy who orders the little red fruity drink with like in a cocktail glass and an umbrella, and I'm sitting back in the corner with my umbrella drink, and I'm
Yeah.
getting hit on by every gay man in that bar. That's who I am when I go to a bar.
Yeah.
Seriously.
That's hilarious. I mean, I just don't go out to bars. They're so expensive. I mean, if you come to Australia, it's so expensive. Do you like for a pint of beer here is I don't know how it's been probably about 5 years since I bought one, but like last time I
That's
bought one was
because
about
of the
15
demand.
Australian
You
dollars.
Australians are drinkers, man.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm not. I mean, I used to be a little bit, but nowhere near as much as a lot of other people. But yeah, I don't know. I think you were saying something about World War Three and this being intertwined. People are not seeing the link. Um, and I know you were talking for a bit while I was gone just for a sec, so I apologize about that. I needed to piss.
Well,
I
I
needed to pee
actually,
really, really
when you
bad.
left, when you left, I lost my train of thought for a moment, and then I had to get it back. But yeah, with so if you look at everything that has been going on recently, I got to ask your audience this question. I remember my whole point now. Why do you think President Trump created a space force? Why did he create it? Why now? Why now?
Yeah, well, supposedly, it could be either that Coulthard was correct in saying that Donald Trump has been read in on these secret programs, and that things are going to come forward now, and that we're going to expand into that frontier of space beyond our just our planet. Um, or it is just like the it's just a facade that exists for the sake of the appearance. Um, Perhaps also just to prop up a psyop just like this. I mean, you can't tell me that the
Do you know what the
governments around
space
the
force
world
is
can.
doing?
You can't tell me that people. Now I've got to be careful what I'm saying because this is going to be on YouTube. But you can't tell me that governments can't get together around the entire planet, and either through coercion, lies, or just being evil and greedy, that they can not just pull a complete huge psyop over us and spend extraordinary amounts of, like,
They
plunge
they did that
trillions
with
of dollars of damage
COVID,
into economies just over
of
this
course.
to cover things up. They'll sacrifice trillions to cover things up. So when you say why would they do a space force now, I'm like, they could easily they can make 10 space forces for the sake of trying to bolster up a lie. And I believe that they would do something like that too.
Well, I think they would do. I think that they would too. But let's look at what they're doing right now, though. What are they? You need to pull some stories up, man. You check check out what they're doing in South America, around Peru and Brazil. They're literally putting in radar and
They're different.
they're putting up radar right now, and there's also rumors, and I've seen the photos. I'm not very good at that type of spotting out that type of equipment, but they could be putting in the direct energy weapons down south. I'll check more into that. I don't know if I'm correct on the dues or not, but I do know that they
Yeah.
are putting in like radar systems right in the south. Um, and some other equipment. I know that they have the military's also down in Peru. We have over 700 troops, American troops down in Peru right now. Um,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
there's a lot of things that's going on.
Peru announces air security pact with the United States after extended. What have we got here? After extended pause. Uh, um, that was something that's just resumed on August 12th. Oh, that was my birthday. Uh, yeah, I don't know what is going on in Peru at the moment. 'Cause see, this is the thing. There's so many things. People are saying that they're encountering aliens, like extraterrestrial EBEs, extra biological entity, isn't it? That's what it means?
Yeah, or HBIs, human or in NHIs, non-human entities or
Oh,
non-human
that's right. Yeah.
intelligence, not non-human intelligence. So yeah, there's actually multiple things going on in Peru. There's like a massive breakout of dengue. I don't really know how to pronounce it.
Dengue
It's
fever.
a virus that yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a virus that kills children heavily. There's a
Yeah.
breakout in Peru with that. Uh, there is with that see that story is pretty wild, and a lot of people are trying their best to kind of debunk it quickly, and they're having a hard time doing it. They're even using, well, there's guys on jetpacks that are flying around on jetpacks around the area and fooling everybody. What's funny though is that area is basically a land of natives. They couldn't afford a candy bar, let alone a daggone jetpack. Uh, and not only that, but how would natives even know how to handle something like that? That it's an interesting story because the natives there have asked the government to send the military in that area. Obviously, obviously the government took credence to their story because they did send the military in that area to do like I guess surveillance or recon, whatever. Um, uh, and not only that, but just last week I did confirm that we even had CIA agents on the ground in Peru. Now, what's really odd about that is I don't know if I started looking this up after I reported on it just to see if there was anything else going on around that region while I knew that we had actual agents in that area. And then the Ecuador, um, how far is Peru from Ecuador? Can you pull up a map there?
Uh, let's have a look. Road to
Because I know
direction.
that the Ecuadorian somebody got assassinated down there. I believe he was a candidate. There was an
They couldn't calculate
assassination,
directions,
and
but it is
so
like
my ears perked up when I heard that CIA was in Peru, and then an assassination happens. I don't know if it was before or after.
yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, I'm pulling up these interesting bits. Whoa, that's noisy. These interesting bits of footage from like there's all sorts of stuff coming out of Peru in terms of footage now. I have a little creature walking there. I don't know. See, part of this is I know in that area of the world, the phone technology that people have is really bad. Like they're only still using iPhone 6s and stuff, or the equivalent of. Um, like that's see, some of this is the. Do you what do you think of this sort of thing? That's I mean,
See, I don't I just call I call bullshit because it's like every video that we have, they're behind trees.
yes, that's
They're
right. They're
behind
behind trees, and it's sort of like
they're behind something.
I thought they were wanting to make themselves like visible, and if that was the case, you wouldn't be hiding behind a tree, cowering from human, and all of a
It's
sudden,
not even about the visibility. It's just the matter of it's never behind a car. It's never behind a house, or it's always behind trees or in the brushes somewhere. It's like, come on guys, be
yeah,
more
yeah.
creative with your fake shit.
Ah,
by one and came from featured franchise. These astonishing claims have emerged from the Iquitu indigenous people, residing in the remote district of Alto Nane, northeast of Lima. According to their accounts,
So what's it going to take,
15
Daniel, for you to hop on the UFO bus and whiz on out of here?
um, I don't know, man. I want to see satellite imagery. I want to see stuff like this. I want to see.
Okay, okay. If some of the whistleblowers gives this material, let's say to James Fox, let's say that James Fox releases a video tomorrow, are you going to believe it then?
If it comes from Fox, if it's a compelling video that's more than like what we just saw on
Now
the
wait a
video feed
second.
just
You
now.
said you said that you needed some satellite footage or video, and
Oh
I'm
yeah, yeah,
giving
yeah,
it to
yeah.
you.
So
I'm
that'd be
giving you
compelling
something to
enough. Like,
chew on. So
sorry,
it has to be like it can't just be video or satellite images.
it has to be
What's
something
it going to
good.
take? What
Like, it has to be
right?
and
What's it
like
going to take?
not a dot. Like, this is someone could have faked this, right? However, if this image I'm looking at right here, someone could have easily faked this and that and that and all of these. They could have faked these, but if something, I mean, that one is fake. I know that one's fake because I've seen that like many times before. Or do I know it's fake? I think it's fake. The rest, this is a giant thing in the middle of a crater. A lot of these things, anomalies on the moon. See, if it comes from Fox, I'll be more inclined to believe it than I will be if I just found it randomly on
Was that the
Twitter.
Millennium Falcon?
Oh, this one here.
No, I'm not talking about that. The one in the crater. There, is that the Millennium? Yeah. Looks like the Millennium Falcon. Wow. I don't have my glasses on, but
I mean, this is like, it's just a giant tower. Like, you can see the shadows of it. It's right in the center of a crater. But like, why? What? Why? How? In the middle of a crater. And it's very tall, as you can see, like, and that's a massive crater.
And a few moments later, someone did come into the room. I worked there for 3 more days, and I remember going home and naively thinking, I can't wait to hear about this on the evening news.
have you seen the Turkey UFO?
No. So
The
what's
Turkey UFO footage?
Oh yes, yeah. The ones with the greys in the pilot seats.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
a
so
wild
that's
video,
actually
man.
something. That's one that I showed, and so I've seen that one a long time ago as well. I saw that one a long time, like probably about a decade
Yeah,
ago.
I actually seen it back in 2011 or 12.
But it is one that I actually pulled up and was going to show, and I did show it on one of my other videos that I tried to delete already. But the Turkey UFO was, yeah, that was, I actually kind of almost believe it. Do you? I almost believe that one's real.
I do just because the person who filmed it the second time ended up coming out in public saying that he filmed it, and he's got some credibility behind him. But it's just
Yeah.
and they not only that, but they took the actual film to some of the best investigators to see if it was tampered with or manipulated or anything like that. And the investigators even say that the film's authentic. What they zoomed in on, who knows? But the actual film of it and the zooming in and everything, there was no manipulation of
Yeah, I saw that. It went through it
anything
passed a
to
bunch
the
of
film.
it passed a bunch of analysis, and if you zoom in close enough, you can actually see the footage, the head move. I wonder if I can um
Just type in
find it.
Turkey UFO.
Yeah, that's just autofilled that accidentally. Here it is. It's the first one anyway. Oh no, that's the channel. Here we go. Whatever reason, YouTube tabs take forever to load here.
For millennia, 2000 all tuned in. Do you see that? Now take a look at the
Here we go.
violently for half an hour about a mile away and 500 feet above the sea. But watch what happens when Yelchin zooms in. Do you see that?
So they're
That's
moving.
just wild.
Yeah.
That's
It is
absolutely
wild.
wild.
It is really wild. So these heads actually, you can see them moving. So yeah, the date 2009. Now I would have seen it probably. I don't know when I saw this. Maybe about 2012 or so. Let's see if they do any better analysis. Yeah, you can see. You can always see their heads moving, can't you? Craziness. But what was another one?
What do you think of the Washington D.C. UFOs back in the 50s?
Oh,
What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, was with the, you mean the lights? Oh no, that was over Los Angeles, wasn't it?
No, that was over. I'm talking about over the White House, the actual White House.
It was a swarm of lights, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a swarm of what people.
Like
I mean, people say they were discs. I mean, there's I guess there's other sort.
I
I
think I'm
mean, saucer
conflating the two
discs.
different issues. I think there was like one in Los Angeles, wasn't there, one night? And there was a big
Yeah,
shoot
you're
down.
talking
They were trying
about
to shoot them.
the Battle of L.A. Yeah, the Battle of
Yeah,
L.A.
that's what I'm
There's,
confusing it with. So
yeah,
there was another
you
one
should check
over the
that out
White
too.
House.
Yeah, there was
Oh, really?
also, I believe the Battle of L.A. was much earlier. I don't know the date. I think maybe it was after World War II,
Yeah, it
somewhere
was a
around
lot
there.
of black and white, like illustrations of
Yeah,
it, or bad photos,
and
like
then
just
there's then I think in '52. I don't know why I'm thinking '58, but I'm pretty sure it was in '52 that the White House, the military had radar of craft going over the actual White House, and there was journalists that picked up picked and got some footage of it, and it's pretty wild.
Oh, I haven't seen that footage then. Is there any way you can?
It's actually just photos. I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
film.
I see. Um, there was one thing. I've been live for quite a while now. And I should probably let you go soon, but I wanted to just bring up a couple more things to show you. I'm sorry this has been a bit of a mess today because it's my first one. But what do you think of crop circles?
That I don't have an opinion on. I don't disbelieve it. Um,
See, they're
there's
the
some
ones
like
that that's one
crazy.
of the things that I've really, really been fascinated with. The crop circles thing is almost like, so there's this theory, right? Because there's footage of, I'm going to show you the footage of crop circles like being created in real time by orbs of light.
Is a video capturing the formation of a crop circle in real
Oh,
time.
here it is.
Filmed in the UK in 1996.
Yeah,
This
that's
footage
the one that
remains uncontested in terms
I've
of its
seen. That's pretty
authenticity
wild. I
and
mean,
lack of
It's pretty
digital
wild,
alteration.
right?
and,
And
and
you
it
see the
looks
orbs.
it looks so real though too. I mean,
It does. And
and
this
you got
is
to
the
remember
guy.
this was I think back in the '80s or early
No,
'90s.
1996 this was filmed. It was between 91 and 96, and this says 96 on here, but like still, even 1996, you couldn't have done like this. It looks quite real, and there's the orbs responsible for doing it, right? Um, and then so they chase these orbs away,
Also, the knowledge
and I
of the
think they
traditions
show you it the next
surrounding
day,
not
don't
only
they?
crop
I don't know,
circles.
they do, but like that was amazing, right? But they reckon I found this other lady saying, "See how there's orbs here." There's this other lady that I found last night saying that, and it sounds a bit woo woo and weird, but there's this professor. What was his name? A biochemist. He was.
Researcher and filmmaker, and I have been in more than 100 crop circles in the last.
There's this guy, this scientist who reckons that the orbs that are creating the crop circles are actually signals from the Earth being sent to outer space. Um, and the suggestion is that the Earth is sending out signals of distress because we're making it sick, and that's why we in a lot of these crop circle images that people are seeing, because a lot of them come back in binary and ASCII and stuff like that you can actually interpret into a message. And it's almost there's a common theme with most of them, and it's like preserve the planet, improve save the planet, stop destroying the planet and all this sort of stuff. And
You should
there's
check
a lot.
out John Mack and his interviews with people that claim to be abducted or not just abducted but have actually seen alien beings. He's like the Michael Jordan of psychiatry. He was a professor there at in Harvard. Very intelligent guy, and I guess the backstory is one of his friends contacted him and asked him to do a case on an individual that was claiming that he was abducted, and John Mack refused for quite a while until finally he gave in, and he made, his last few years of his life, he took and interviewed a lot of abductees, and he tended to believe a lot of those stories and a lot of those individuals' um, uh, recollection of those events. It's pretty awesome, man. You gotta check it out. There's also a movie called The Experiencers. That's a really good movie to watch about alien abductions, and it has John C. Mack in it. And the Zimbabwe UFO story is probably one of the most fascinating stories that you can listen to.
Yeah, and we've got a parallel one here, the Australian Westler. There's a place called Westall in Victoria, and I've actually been there. But there was a very,
Oh
very,
yeah,
very
that's
similar
where all those
UFO
school
incident.
children.
Correct.
Isn't
It
that
was
where all
almost
the
exactly.
school children saw it?
Yes, it was, and it was almost exactly like the South African incident. And in fact, they're almost invariably mentioned together when they're ever brought up on if
Well,
they're
you know
talking
what
about the
though?
UFO. Go ahead.
I honestly think that story is more fascinating than what the kids. Well, I believe the Zimbabwe story is just fascinating just because of what the kids like witnessed when the beings came out and
Yeah,
supposedly talked to them telepathically. But
yeah,
the one in Australia is different because they actually have adults, the teachers seeing this object, not only the
that's
kids but the
true.
teachers themselves.
That's right. Yeah, and the guy was threatened with his, to be. Yeah, they tended that. Yeah, that's right. He got a Man in Black coming and threatening him and stuff like that, and they had even at the school. So they did.
And
Yeah,
that was
that's
the
right.
first time. That was the first time that he ever talked about it. Was that moment where they interviewed him, which
But James
was,
Fox has done that story, I believe.
yeah,
I think that
yeah,
might
they
have
did.
been actually no, it wasn't the
I know
first
what I
time I've
saw.
heard of it. But he does. It's on I Know What I Saw, isn't it? Yeah, he does have it on there. I believe it was on that one. But I knew about that earlier, obviously, because I was from Australia. But I'm actually originally from Western Australia. But I live in Sydney now, and I lived in Melbourne, which is where Westall is a part of Melbourne, for about a year. Um, so yeah, I'm familiar with that one, but I just want to say with the orb singing, it's a shame that you can't hear what this is. Oh, I'm going to put on the subtitles here so you can see it. But this is just sort of like I want to play this last little clip here by this lady Patty Greer, who talks about this guy and the orbs of the UFO, the
Last
crop
10
circles.
years, I have a communication with the circle makers that happens usually at 3 in the morning. When you walk into a crop circle, you're going in a tram line, which is the tractor tire lines where it's already laid down. So you don't want to ever disturb the field of the farmers. As long as you stay in the tram lines, it's considered etiquette. And what I feel in the crop circles isn't feel it unless you're completely insensitive. Feed 20 you go. It's like people say to me, all crop circles are fake. I say to them, well, there you go. That's really it. There was one scientist
Here we go.
in the world that I know of that
William
went public.
Levengood.
His name is William Levengood. He's very, very famous, and he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for writing more scientific papers that made it into science journals than anyone else on the planet. And he's the man that proved that not only are crop circles real, but they're coming out of the earth. And what Levengood discovered is that it is plasma balls of light that are laying the crop circles down in seconds. But the way the plasma gets energized enough is through these spinning, counter-rotating vortices. So it's a really clear science that
Messages from the
makes
Earth.
sense. And when we realize that they're actually initially coming out of the ground, it really makes sense. Why would the mother be complaining? Well, gosh, we're fracking her, we're draining her blood, and then we're fracking her some more. And we're dumping stuff, and we're poisoning everything. And so she's been shooting up these messages for 200 years that we know of, and humanity's just gotten worse and worse.
Okay, that's a little wild.
It's wild, isn't it? So it's sort of like I saw that last night, and I'd never really thought of that theory before, but it immediately took me to that orb footage from 1996, and I'm like, oh, wow, because that's the thing that's always that's one of the things that's always there in all of these crop circle things. It's always, well, not always, but almost always associated with orbs of light. So I was like, oh, wow, that sort of makes a lot of sense, you know. So as you can see, I'm not someone who's like afraid of going out there a little bit and considering these things, and it's just that I guess in conclusion, I'm concerned that people are going to be dragged into what I think is definitely a psyop occurring right now, and I think there is definitely some truth that is to be extracted from this. But I'm just worried about how it's going to be handled, what direction the greater public's going to go in, as uh, with relation to the real reality of what's going on. Like I'm sure that there's these whistleblowers that are saying things to people, but whether that information is ever going to make it to us, I don't know. I'm still very skeptical.
I think what's going to happen now, this is just my opinion. This isn't, something I've seen or heard. I think that the way that all of the data, everything that the data shows with the military, within the military, shows that these sightings, whether they're UFOs or whatever they are, there's been, they've seen these things not just one or two times a day. They said that they've seen these things dozens of times a day, every single day that they've been out in the water.
Yeah.
The Navy. I mean,
Yeah.
that's literally coming from not just one or two military personnel. It's coming from almost every military personnel that's ever been on those boats. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of people that have literally come out and said, yeah, we see them all the time, dude. I mean, so whatever they are, it suggests to me that we're on the verge of a massive sighting. If the military out in the ocean are seeing these things at an alarming rate, it's going to happen eventually where something's going to get above a huge populated city, and it's really going to freak a lot of people out.
Yeah, and
I mean, look at the response of COVID, man. We didn't have toilet paper for 2 damn months because people were buying up shit over this COVID stuff. We
yeah,
couldn't get
and
any
look,
children's Tylenol, sanitation wipes, cleaning supplies,
I've been hearing
you know,
people. I've been hearing
sanitizer, hand
people.
sanitizer.
Yeah, I've been hearing people going into sort of like the people that are claiming to be in the know about some of these latest leaks that are coming forward. They're like, oh, and for the longest time, these people were like, of course, the public should know about aliens. We should have always known. Nothing should be held from us. And now they're saying, oh, I get it now. I don't think they should tell us about it because I don't think they should tell the public about it. The public aren't ready. They were right to keep it from them. Um, because now I'm having a bit of a crisis. They're saying like I'm like moments away from a personal snap. Like I don't know how to cope with it, and maybe that could be one of the main reasons why they really have hidden it from us. Maybe we just can't handle it. Maybe it does. Maybe there are some truths out there that they've learned that are just so difficult to grasp that they just could never tell us or admit to it.
Maybe all of these crazy ass stories and all of these pandemics are designed as a way to figure out the public's reaction towards things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was definitely a virus that occurred, but the way that they used that situation was certainly an experiment. There's no denying that.
I and the reason why I say that, Daniel, is because I mean, there's the proof is in the pudding. If you look at what Dr. Fauci said back in March of 2020, he sat down with CBS and he was basically telling, no, you don't need to wear a mask. A month later, he comes out and says, you need to wear a mask. 4 months
Yeah.
later, he says, you need a double mask. A month later, after that, he says, only the vaccinated needs to wear a mask. And then a month later, and I'm being facetious when I say this, but a month later he says, well, the vaccinated needs to wear a mask, but only inside. And then a few months later, he says, "Well, the vaccinated, they just they can take their or
He
everybody
just
needs to
kept
wear
shifting and
masks now." It
shifting. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like if they can't get something like that, something so simple like that, and get get on one message, just one message. Um, it it to me that was the psyops. That was to see how the public was going to react on switching strategies in the middle of a pandemic. To see what the public, the data, the conversation, how the public would talk about things. And
And
there's
we
really
fell
no
for it pretty
there's
bad.
no other explanation for it. There's none.
Yeah. Yeah, there is no obvious other explanation for it. And we did not pass that test. We we performed really badly. I mean, we did everything they wanted us to do, which is not passing the test. We
Well,
failed as
there's a big. I mean, I don't.
but
I know that Australia had probably one of the most hardest times in all of this with
yeah, and
their.
it's I'll
I
never
mean, you
forget the
guys were
country
you
for what
guys
they
were
did.
draconian, man.
I know, and it's not just the government, it's the people that were willing to support and comply with the government. So no, I'm not gonna let the people of Australia off the hook. They're fucking just as responsible for complying. I hate this place now. I'll never forgive
Were
them.
you forced to take the vaccine?
I was in a position where I had to take it, and it didn't help. Like, so there were different laws in each state, and I was able to work from home in my job, which I did. However, I wasn't able to leave New South Wales, and my mother in WA, who was unwell, and her house got destroyed by a hurricane, like a natural disaster, cyclone, we call them. Um, in the middle of the COVID lockdown shit. But to get into the state, you had to have 3 shots, and I had one and then two. So I decided to get them so I could go over there because it was the only way I could go and see my mother, which I haven't seen in almost a decade now. And well, I hadn't seen in almost a decade, and they changed the rules because at the time it was you needed 2 jabs to get in. So I got the first jab, ended up in hospital with heart problems, which I still have to this day. And then I decided to get the second one anyway because I'd already had the first one. I'm like, they're not gonna let me in the state to see my mother if I don't get the second shot. So I got the second shot and ended up in hospital again. And I'm still on like bags and bags of pills every day, every single day since. Um, and I was never allowed to get that third shot in the end, and they never let me back. Like, they never approved my entry into the state in the end anyway. Sorry, that was a big messy way of saying I did get vaccinated. I didn't end up having to need to, which makes it even more annoying because they wouldn't let me in the state I needed to enter in anyway because I only had 3 and no, sorry, I only had 2 and
No, that's good. That's good information. I never knew that about you. Did is there a lot of vaccine injured people
yeah, there
in
is, and
your
I'm just
area?
there is, and I've joined a class action. We're suing the Australian government. It's a public thing, led by Dr. Melissa McCann, and I've been talking a little bit about it on Twitter, and so yeah, hopefully we'll get somewhere with that. So yeah, I mean, I'm one of many. I know of. Yeah, 'cause this is
What's
on YouTube. I
in
can't say too much. I don't know what the rules
well,
are.
what's the climate like? What's people's feelings on the vaccine over there now today?
I don't know because I stopped talking to people because the people were just not listening to me. They wouldn't believe me, even though Some of my own even one of my own doctors says you need to stop talking about the vaccine. They actually said that to me. You need to stop mentioning it. So I complained about them. I went off at them. I changed doctors, or I went crazy at them. I just went crazy at them. Like, don't you fucking dare! Don't you fucking dare tell me to stop fucking talking about this thing that almost killed me. So I get angry about it. Anyway, sorry, but
No, I would be too, man. I got many friends on Twitter that's going through that shit, and I just it's a tragedy, and that they didn't even test this shit. We better be careful because you're on
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah, we got to change that topic. Anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up because we've been recording for a little while now, and I think
Yeah.
I need to stitch these together. I don't know how successful this actually was, but I thank you so much for coming on and putting up with me and my messiness. Hopefully, again, like once I get a bit more practice under my belt, I'll have this a lot smoother running. We can do this again, and I'll ask
Yeah,
you the rest
definitely.
of the
And
questions that I was supposed to ask you, and actually ask you about you instead of just the UFO stuff, and get into a few more other topics.
well, I definitely know your format now, and I know what you're after, and I know like kind of the direction and production
I don't
that you're
necessarily
going
know my
for. So
format yet. It's still the blueprint for this show is still going to find itself. As I said, I'm still working on
yeah,
like
and I had a bunch of fart jokes prepared. I had like you know um, s- sound effects, everything, man. But we never got there today. So maybe next time.
Yeah, I actually started downloading all that stuff last night because I do want to eventually set this up and to be a little bit more fun and have the chat interaction. And there were some people in the first stream that were chatting, but they're all gone. No one's watching this one, so they're gonna have to watch it in post, and I'll stitch them together. But
You know,
it was all good.
I thought a buddy of mine, he hasn't done it, but he was sitting here thinking about like doing interviews and then like putting like Easter eggs in behind the screen, like maybe somebody's like profile picture on their Twitter if you're doing an interview, like minimize your screen and have it as your desktop
Yeah,
and
yeah,
shit
yeah,
like
yeah.
that, just to fuck with people.
Yeah, yeah. I love it when people put little Easter eggs in things like that. Yeah, I love that sort of thing. But it's just an extra thing for me to think about that I'll forget. So yeah, I need to get to a point where I'm relaxed with this because right now you can tell I'm stressed about it. I want everything to be perfect. There's a lot of fiddliness that goes on with it. You gotta be careful about what you say because it's YouTube. You gotta you gotta make it interesting and yeah. Anyway, I'm just repeating myself. But I think we'll leave it there for today because I've got to go and do some other stuff as well because it's Friday here and it's 1:11 p.m. and that will be the 2 hour mark. So if there's anything else you'd like to say before we wrap it up.
No, man, you've been great, and I hope you continue doing this. I think you'll do a great job. I'm always right about like people succeeding, and man, I'm telling you, you really do have a knack for it. You just got to keep doing it and get
I
some
appreciate
practice,
that,
and,
man.
and
I definitely need to
don't
get some
stop.
practicing. No, I won't stop. Probably gonna stick to some more pre-recorded stuff and then upload it and get this live streaming thing a bit because that's what really threw me right off today was the live streaming thing when it is still stuffed up and then it threw me right off. So I think the next one we'll do a pre-record and
Yeah, that sounds great, man.
yeah. All right, bro. Well, thanks for being with me and I'll see you again soon. Look after yourself, huh?
All right, you take care, bye.
All right, guys. That's it. Goodbye.